I did want to see the double 40. What we saw tonight, which I thought was definitely the headline. I mean, the headliner. Your two best stars score almost 40 each. That's obviously going to be the headline. But in terms of like what matters the most, I think Rob matters the most right now in terms of the type of game that he had tonight, because you're starting to sneaky see Rob things more frequently tonight. Tonight was a ridiculous game in terms of the boards. If you add, in addition to the boards, the amount of times he kept the ball alive on the glass on the offensive end, if those counted for rebounds, someone else catches the ball, but you're the one that you're the reason why. Whatever. There was about 7 of those that he kept it alive. Sometimes
hockey rebounds? Are we going hockey rebounds?
They're hockey rebounds, yeah. Sometimes he just taps it and hopes for the best. Sometimes he directs those taps. He's better at that than anybody I've ever seen. Directing taps off of loose balls or off the glass in the direction of teammates. There are rebound passes. You know, there was one late in the game where Scal said he should get a rebound and an assist for that, for a tip. But he should, because that's what it was. It was intentional. Instead of catching it, coming down, and then delivering a pass, he just tipped it to a guy who shot a shot. It's a high athleticism move, just how quick he can get off the ground. But it's such like a smart thing that he does, where his brain is just moving super fast in those times to be able to recognize, to go up and to make that tap. So seeing Rob closer to his Rob self was pretty. I thought it like that one takeaway where you're like, okay, you're talking about what's the ceiling of this team. Yes, the Browns, Tatum and Brown are awesome, and they'll continue to be awesome. But seeing Rob starting to do this kind of stuff, I think, is my number one takeaway.
Yeah, well, you specifically, you've really been waiting to see old Rob, as they say. We've heard,
and it's not all the way there.
We've heard of old Greg. We wanted old Rob, and we got old Rob. For anyone who gets that reference, great. But Rob, we knew was there. We saw bits and pieces of it. The conditioning wasn't there yet, but you could see him at points jumping very high and getting back for the block. The classic Rob block where lets the guy sort of get by him, but then he recovers and blocks it over his back, at the rim. We saw that a couple games ago, or last game, I forget which one it was. And tonight was kind of getting it all back together. So this was a huge game for Rob, I think, to see all that sort of happen in one game. I mean, I think we all thought it was there, but there's a part of you who needs to see it, because of the health issues and, missing a game here and there for, illness and whatnot. You always wonder, is it really illness or is it knee pain and they just don't want to say anything or whatever. But yeah, it was great to see him there. Obviously, this team's going to go as far as Tatum and Brown take them. But when you have that presence that you lacked severely, and I know Bobby's going to disagree because Cornette was, Rob played the Cornette role tonight, but I would say Rob was a bit of a step up. I think we can all agree there. So, adding that to the mix, now that these guys have played a few games together, you can see that they're getting all together on the same page. It wasn't like Rob goes in and they all looked out of sorts, which I think there was a little bit of truth to that for the first couple games when Rob was inserted into the lineup. It just, I don't know if it was coincidence, but they also did lose a couple of those games right when he returned. I think the familiarity with last season's kind of returned, and they can just kind of build on this. 11 points, there it is, 11 points, 15 rebounds, 2 assists, a block, plus 19, and only 21 minutes. I mean, that's about as many minutes, I think, as you can expect for him to play right now, given that he's been off.
You're right. What? But you're right. I don't think he can go past those minutes. What I thought was different about tonight, in addition to just the activity, was that I feel like he's faded near the end of each of his stints on the court. In most games, and tonight he didn't. Tonight I actually thought from the moment he got to the floor to the moment he was subbed out, he had roughly the same level of bounce and energy. There's a lot of times in the first few games for sure where I felt like he was out of gas. Like they might have played him for 7, but he had about 4.5 good ones in him and was walking up and down the court for 2. Old Greg.
Somebody got it, thank God. No, absolutely.
Yes, and sorry for guys who felt trolled by the breaking Rob news. We didn't mean that. He just got out of the locker room and Rob had talked a little bit. But Rob did talk. Does he have anything to say about how he is physically right now? Because I think, it goes hand in hand. The more comfortable he gets, when the conditioning gets up there, when he starts feeling fully confident, he gets to do more Rob things. This was a game where he's starting to do more Rob things. You're seeing him kind of get up off his feet a lot quicker. A couple times I thought really small things, Bobby, like contesting a shot, landing, and then jumping right back up for a rebound. That's not easy to do. He gets off the ground so quickly, but there also look like there's other times out there where he's conserving his energy a little bit. So it's not like the full Rob experience, but even like 70% of it tonight was just insanely impactful.
Yeah, and they needed his rebounding. The Rockets were crashing. They were in there. There were some battles on the boards defensively. And then, of course, offensively, he got asked about the fact that this team was pretty low in the league before he returned in terms of offensive rebounding. And he does it naturally. It's so easy for him. You had those couple of tip outs against Indiana where he got them extra looks from three. He's able to bat the ball out a few times in this one. And he generated 15 rebounds in how many minutes did he play? 21? And they actually all came within 16, 17, 18 minutes. So
he had 10 in that first stint of 7 or 8 minutes. He had 10 in the first 8 minutes.
He's unbelievable. It's not even fundamentals really. He's not boxing guys out and all that. He's just going right up and getting it and out jumping. Such a big impact when you face an opponent like this who's really trying to grind out those extra possessions. And Houston got them early. He sailed them off late. You had him land that big alley-oop. But in terms of your question, John, in terms of how he's feeling, he says it's all wind right now. No pain, no issues after any of the games that he's played so far. He's just slowly gotten more and more in shape through each game that he's played. Even the brace that he's wearing, he said he expected to bother him, but it hasn't. And I've liked what I've seen from him. I know you guys were talking last game. You didn't love what you saw, but
in spurts,
it's
just not enough. And I do feel like at each of his stints, you get if he plays 7 minutes, I feel like you get 3 or 4 good minutes in the last couple. He's walking back and forth a little bit. It looks like there's, like I said, I still see some plays that looks like he's deciding I'm not selling out on this one because he knows he wants to save it for something else. So I think he's picking his spots versus if he were in tip-top shape, a guy going out there and playing 2 or 3, 6 or 7 minute stretches should be flying all over the place. It should be like a hockey shift. You're just, if you're only out there 5, 6, 7 minutes at a time, a couple times a game, you should be able to really go, balls to the wall, and he's not fully able to. But again, you saw, nobody does what he does. And the thing we talked about on top of that was the deflections and his active hands and how many balls he keeps alive on the offensive glass. Not only the ones he grabs, but the ones he's deflecting directly to other people or tapping.
He's become a master at that. Yeah. That's his go-to now. And I feel like he has someone in mind. He's not doing it without looking.
Always. It's
it's strategic. Right. He's got somebody in mind every single time. Yeah. And he makes an impact.
Jimmy, I'm giving you the hosting microphone. I'm popping off for 2 minutes. You're in charge of everything.
Jimmy, don't mess this up, all right?
Which means you got to start paying attention again.
I'm going to toss it to Bobby.
You were drifting.
I already got my rock.
He's just thinking out loud.
Well, guys, you know how it is. I start the show with John. He talks for 15 minutes. Then I get my 2 minutes.
Your mouth just dropped and he said he's leaving. You just freaked for a second.
But I already did my Rob spiel, so I want to hear from you guys on –
I like the point Josue made. I like the point Josue made there. He is sort of directing balls on the offensive glass when he tips them out, and when he blocks.
I call them hockey rebounds.
Those a block.
Rebounds.
Can we get a stat for that soon? We got the hockey assist.
Hockey rebounds
in basketball.
There was a block that sent Grant down in transition last game, and they didn't score, but it was like a one-on-one opportunity for Grant. He looks poised out there. It looks like he's getting more comfortable, and the key isn't, I think, him. It's guys involving him. And I love that Smart found him on that late alley-oop. He needs Smart setting him up like he is because I don't think the other guys look for him consistently enough. That look that he got above the break to find Tatum cutting back door early in the game was awesome. Those are the plays you want to see him making more frequently. And I think if he just put more on his plate, he'll be able to do more with it. I almost hope, and John here for this, of course, but I hope that they don't go the Brad route with this, right? That 2021 debate we had. And of course, I was on the other side of it. I think you, Jimmy, and John were saying, play him more, play him. And I was like, if he's not playing more, he probably can't. And we saw the next year that he could.
Right.
So I hope that they're able to push him back into that big role yet eventually. Does it have to be a starting role? No, but you'd like for him to be able to get up to 25, 30 minutes like he was at some points last year. I mean, opening night last year, he played 44. And we were all like, whoa, where'd that come from?
Right.
So, he's just coming back. We'll see where it goes. But I don't love hearing that he's going to sort of stay in this secondary role because I think at his peak, he's a ceiling raiser.
So you think he should start?
I think there's a case for it. I mean, that starting five last year, I know it doesn't have the spacing that they want and all the different shooting and 5 out that they've been playing with, but that unit had a better offensive
Josue lost
rating
his
than
keys.
this.
Did you lose your keys, bro?
No, my AirPods. But sorry, go ahead.
Damn.
That starting unit from a year ago,
Inside
the
a
big
safe
defensive
right now?
five, they were obviously historic defensively, but offensively, they had a better offensive rating than this year's starting five. Even with all the shooting and playmaking and everything else, because, stops lead to offense. And I think that's what you saw in this game as they started breaking out late. All those turnovers, all those runouts in the threes and dunks. That's what you want to see this team get back to. And Rob, I think, is going to be crucial for that with those blocks that lead, the hockey, what are you calling them? Hockey rebounds, blocks?
Hockey
whatever.
rebounds.
Either
Yeah,
one of
little tip.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Bobby, I think
Absolutely.
this is a good chance for him to ramp up with not just a second unit, but obviously you mix him in with the starters. But I think it's a great confidence booster. I mean, you go in against opposing second units, and it's a great way to run the floor, mix and match with those guys. And of course, if you're playing well enough and the game is close, you're going to see him at the end of the game as well. It's not like he's on a minutes restriction, so it's really up to Rob, right, in terms of his progression and him getting his legs back, which he continues to do week after week. But I also think that Joe Mazzulla isn't just going to force him into the starting lineup just because. I just think he wants to see him sort of earn it, so to speak.
Well, this is where we're seeing
Right.
the Ime Joe difference. Because remember last
Right.
year, there was that time where I think we sort of thought it was Romeo, but also Rob. Rob took it personally at the time, where Ime said, "You guys got to play through some pain. Like if you're just sore, you got to play. You can't sit out."
Right.
And I think
Yeah,
throughout
that's a
that
good
year,
point.
he was pushing Rob to play more and longer stretches and in a bigger role. And I know Joe's a player's kind of guy and wants to hear what they have to say and their input on everything. But I do think Rob needs to be pushed a little bit to play more and in a bigger role. I don't think they can just keep leaning on, hey, how do you feel? Are you tired? All right,
Right.
come out. Especially now, because aren't you trying to build them up? That's what this whole regular season stretch is about. Even a game like this, and 20, fine, I'll take it. But you do want to get to a point where he can, I guess, play the minutes that he did last year. I'm going to look at how that's kind of divvied up right now. But so far, it feels like they've been on the cautious side with him. We don't know the medicals. We don't know the situation and the plan that they have for him. But just reading off his past, 2021, they went a little light with him. We thought it was physical. The last year, they play him 30 minutes a game. And I know he gets hurt in March, but that was just sort of like a freak injury. That wasn't really like a wear. I guess it could have been a wear and tear one. I'm not going to try to play doctor here, but you do want to hear or see a little bit more from him.